for a team that was doing well these last few weeks and was running the ball consistently and running it even with people like 6, 7, 8 men in the box and were finding creases getting 4 or 5 yards, they stuck away with that. And they got away with what was they were doing best, because I don't know if they thought they can be like the Buccaneers and have a similar game plan, but it was just bad. And I just look at overall, I think they use this loss and use as a Cows. I think they win 4 out of like 6 at least.
Okay. All right, back and back, guys, here on Birds 365. Even if you don't like me, because I led you down a primrose path and made you believe the Eagles were going to win yesterday. Even if you don't like John McMullen because he's overselling Nate Herbig to you, he's a nice backup player. He's not a starting player. It doesn't matter. We know you like Chris Franklin, so do us a favor and push the like button here on Birds 365. Click away. Give Chris some love, because he's coming in to solve all the Eagles' problems for us. How are you, Mr. Franklin?
Not bad. I don't know if I can be a GM or anything like that. I don't know if I can fix this problem. You might have to trade me or something else with another team. I'm just kidding. I don't know. There's a lot going on with this team, man. Not a lot.
Yeah, well, with Chris, we got to start somewhere. So we got to start with the 2 Jalens. I'm going to go Reagor first, though, before I get to Jalen Hurts. And is Jalen Reagor fixable? I give him a lot of credit for the accountability aspect. He came out to speak to us. Obviously, you can hide in these COVID times. I give him credit, but boy, you got to make those plays for your struggling quarterback. You got to pick him up. You had 2 opportunities to rescue the Eagles. Just not there. At some point, do you have to say, this isn't working and go in a different direction if you're Nick Sirianni and the Eagles coaching staff?
I'll start by this. I thought it showed a lot by him coming out there and talking to us after the game, especially after not making a play like that. But personally, for me, I'm usually patient when it comes, especially to young players. But to me, I think I've seen enough of Jalen Reagor when it comes to him being featured in the offense, them trying to force the ball into his hands and trying to make something. I just don't see anything from here on out that's going to change it so that you feel like you can get something of value from that former first-round pick. There's been too many opportunities, I think, given to him when it comes to the deep passes. When he's first drafted, they harp on speed. This guy can make plays. This guy can change direction. He can make plays out of nothing, especially on the screens. Well, we really haven't seen it in this year and a half. When you look at the punt returns, he had that really long punt return last year against the Packers, but ever since then, you see elements here where he can break one, he doesn't break one. And then it's like the Giants directionally kicked it. I know they were trying to play field position, trying to corner it. They were directionally kicking it, so that way when he tried to return it, he wouldn't get to 25, and it hampered the Eagles when it came to field position. He has a lot of skill set, and you're waiting to put things together. But at this point, even in the offense, and who would thought we'd say this at this point, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside to me is higher on the, if I'm a quarterback and I'm looking at my progressions, I'd rather rely on J.J. Arcega-Whiteside right now. And who would have thought we would say this like a year ago? Who would have thought
agree wholeheartedly. All right, I'll go to the Eagles' best wide receiver, Devonta Smith. John told me he could see in the press box there that you can get a better look than we can on TV, that the Giants made a concerted effort to limit Dallas Goedert, that they said, we're not going to get beat by Dallas Goedert. We're going to have a guy on top of him and a guy bracketing him, and they did their best to take him out of the game. Well, you can only do that with one wide receiver. You can only double up unless you're just going to go 3-man pass rush. You can only do that so much, which means Devonta Smith was getting either facing zone coverage or man-to-man coverage, and it's solo man coverage. How does he only get 4 targets and only 2 catches yesterday? I get it that any team, any week can take a player, make it more difficult to get a player involved, get the ball to him and the like. They took both of the Eagles' 2 best weapons in the passing game out. How did they do that? At some point, you got to question, did the Eagle player do enough to get open?
I actually put this one on Jalen Hurts, and I thought there's a couple times they did take away Goddard when it came to the bracket, but there were a couple times, especially when that first interception that Jalen Hurts threw, Smith was breaking open. And I think it was more of a moment of anticipation. There were a lot of moments where I saw Smith breaking open, or he was, and I think right before that Reagor drop, the next to last play, You saw him going to Sirianni. I think that built up to being a lot of frustration because he was getting separation. And that's something where Hurts had to find the anticipation or feel his guy getting open, breaking open late and throwing there. Because I thought if he had about half the throws that when he was available and he was wide open, he would have had a lot better day. And I thought that would have changed the course of the game, and the Giants would have changed that. And I think you would have saw Goddard getting more because they saw Smith was breaking open. So I really thought I wouldn't pin this one on Smith so much. I'd put it more on the quarterback on that one.
And let me, sorry, John, I'll interrupt. I'll get you in a second, buddy. You know who I might also blame? Me. And maybe you, and maybe McMullen, maybe some of the other media guys, and maybe Eagle Nation, because for 2 weeks running, I know I've been saying here, somebody else has got to get the football. You can't throw it to just Gardner Smith. You got to have a third. You should have a fourth and a fifth, but at least give us a third. Maybe Hurts heard all of that and said, yeah, I got to spread the ball around. We're not going to be able to do this. We can't. It can't just be the three amigos, me, Goddard, and Smith. Somebody else got to lend a helping hand. So maybe he tried to force the ball to others a little bit too much.
Well, thanks for that visual now, because I see a bunch of sombreros on a bunch of the guys. That'd be crazy. But when you look at I think it's also coaching too. I think when you look at the game plan itself, I mean, when you look at the first 15 plays, those are the plays where say, we want to see what you get. The Giants defense is going to give you and present you certain situations, and they threw the ball a lot. And I don't know if it's something where they say, hey, you know what? They only have Bradbury, and we feel that we can attack the other parts of the field. I don't know if they saw the video from the Buccaneers and go, hey, you know what? We can just throw. I thought Sirianni may have put Hurts and the rest of the offensive position to continue to throw the ball, and that wasn't the thing. They should have stuck with I think they should have stuck with the run more, especially around the goal line where they were having success. And I just for a team that was doing well these last few weeks and was running the ball consistently and running it even with people like 6, 7, 8 men in the box, and were finding creases getting 4 or 5 yards. They stuck away with that, and they got away with they were doing best, because I don't know if they thought they can be like the Buccaneers and have a similar game plan, but it was just bad. And if anything, I thought the Jets game would have been the one that would have been more of a scare. I know it sounds weird saying it's the Jets, but I thought because that could have been a trap before the bye, but they got caught with their pants down on this one. It was bad.
All right, Chris, let me play devil's advocate here for Nick Sirianni. I think this game exemplified how difficult it is to play the way the Eagles have been playing. I was telling Jody, the small margin of error, if you think about, they ran for 200 yards, but you start thinking about, okay, you get Jason Kelsey gets hurt, you get a couple holding calls from Nate Herbig, it pushes you back. We see this all around the NFL. If you're running the football, one play, Boston Scott's running the football effectively, the fumble, Miles Sanders running it effectively, gets hurt. The margin of error is so small. Was Nick Sirianni saying, okay, I got the Giants, let's evolve this offense a little bit early, try to get Jalen Hurts going? Didn't work, though. That's a concern for me, because I want to bring up the quote for you. I think it's, Nick was asked about Jalen's performance, and he said, anytime you turn the ball over 3 times, it's not going to be an A, B, C, or D. Well, there's only one left. So the head coach gave the quarterback an F, and I think the quarterback deserved an F in this particular. This was his worst game as a pro, in my estimation. Would you agree with that?
I wholeheartedly agree, and I'm usually the one that's like back at Hurts. I still think he could be the guy, but there's no defending that performance at all. You throwing the ball, especially on that goal line in the second quarter when they had the Giants had the interception at the goal line. That's a ball that should have been. If you didn't see, you couldn't fit that. There's no way he was going to fit that into Scott. Throw it out the back of the end zone, throw it away, or even beforehand we seen him run out of bounds. Even then, I would have thought he shouldn't have done it, but it's still fine. He literally cost that team anywhere from 6 to 14 points yesterday, and they could have won that. It was a winnable game, and those turnovers that he made put the team in that position where it is. And I got vibes. It just looked like to me the way that Hurts played, just the overall offense. It gave me a sense that we were watching Week 2 against San Fran all over again, where you had made the bad decisions around the goal line, where you had all that stuff, and you thought you saw in Nick's harvest. Well, we've heard it too, where he says you want to be that team that's not just going up and up, down. You want to have that continual ascension when you're going up. Well, that one looked like it was a big regression back. And it's one game, and you're like, well, we threw the 3 interceptions and that one too. That took a really, really big step back, in my opinion. And that's going to linger because, with all the rumors that are swirling about if they're going to get Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson, everybody now is going to point to this game. Well, you threw 3 interceptions against the Giants, and that's just going to linger around now. I think that hurts his cause. I still think should be here 2022, but that's just one of those impressionable games that's going to be there when people think of Hurts now.
All right, since John referenced Nick Sirianni's grading reference yesterday, I'm going to ask you to grade out for us, CF. A+ to F. What would you grade yesterday's Eagles defensive effort?
I'd give it a B. I give it a solid B because I thought they didn't allow the Giants to be. You didn't know what you were going to get with Freddie Kitchens. You really didn't. And as much as we hear them talk about unscouted looks and that, the only one they didn't do well was on that flea flicker that eventually went to Ingram. Otherwise, I thought they held Saquon Barkley and the rest of that Giants run game in check. And I thought they didn't let too many big plays happen downfield. Now, when it came time in the fourth quarter, they let the Giants march downfield, took some valuable time off the clock. And I thought that's what, to me, bumps it down from an A to B. But I thought overall, when you look at the way they mixed coverage, the way they held the Giants run game and basically made them one-dimensional because they weren't moving the ball on the ground at all, except for that one. And look, except for that one Saquon Barkley run, and look what he did. Besides that, take that away. Look at the performance he had. But
yeah,
I give Jonathan. I'll say this: Jonathan Getty, he took a lot of heat, and deservedly so, in the fast. Before these last 2 weeks, took a lot of heat. Granted, it was quarterbacks he played in the last 2 weeks, but
it's funny how that works.
Yeah.
But you're right, Chris. Saquon Barkley had that 32-yard run, which was the biggest play of the day for the Giants. Their largest passing play was 20 yards. So take away that one run, he had 12 rushes for 8 yards.
8 yards.
Yeah. I thought the Eagles were really solid defensively. And when Boston Scott fumbles the ball, the game's over, right? No, they completely shuttered down the Giants in the biggest spot and gave the offense an opportunity to go win the game, and Jalen Reagor should have won the game. I can't even get to the defense when I'm assigning blame. It wasn't perfect, of course. The most concerning part to me is Julian Love, and you probably know what I'm talking about. And Julian Love came out and said, well, yeah, we wanted Jalen Hurts to throw it. Now, I thought Patrick Graham, Giants defensive coordinator, had a great game plan. I really did. And, the Eagles ran for 200 yards, as I mentioned, but that was their mentality. He came out with 2 defensive linemen, 4 linebackers. You saw the indecision, a lot of concern. Is this one of those games where other teams are going to put in the tape and say, oh, look what Patrick Graham did? The Eagles going to have to make some adjustments after this game because they know how people are going to attack them now from a passing perspective?
I think so. I think Robert Saleh has already downloaded that and was probably going across, probably was our locker room like, hey, Pat, can you give us a game plan? I think you'll see a lot of similar stuff with him. And the scary thing is a lot of that stuff is correctable. A lot of that stuff is correctable. The one thing I wish I saw more yesterday that I thought would have slowed down, because the Giants were doing that corner crash from the slot a couple of times, and even now on the outside, a regular running back screen pass. I mean, you haven't really truly seen that all year. We've seen a lot of wide receiver screen passes and something like that, especially with a guy like Boston Scott, who can be explosive, who I think did it last year against the Giants when they came to a little screen pass. That worked effectively. Yeah, Miles Sanders, when you get him in space, I thought that would be effective. You didn't see that. So that's one thing I think you can counteract when it comes to there. I think you have to – I think formationally you'll have to get Dallas Goedert in a better position, because if teams are going to start bracketing him, you may have to start using more motion. You may have to start putting him in the backfield next to Sanders or whatever, and then break him out late in motion and then have to force the defense to adjust him. There's little things that they can do to fix it. It's a matter of how quickly can they do it. Can they diagnose it quickly? I mean, we'll hear the thing. We looked at the film. I know we'll hear all this stuff. Is will they actually implement it and use it later on against the Jets? And and that's the way I think. If I'm looking at the film, if I'm a coach, I'm frustrated because you'll see all the holes that were there. You'll see all the opportunities there. And I guess the lack of the roundabout way of just saying it was just execution. They didn't do it, and that's when you start. I think you start looking at the personnel itself, and if they consistently do it.
All right, maybe this will be overly optimistic, but I'm going to roll it out there anyway. I'm tired of being pessimistic. The Eagles have kind of pushed me to be pessimistic for the first hour and 36 minutes of the show, but I'm going to spin a tale here. Tell me if I've got any chance to get this right.
Okay.
Had a buddy on my CBS Sports Radio show last night from Boston, Adam Kaufman, radio guy up in Boston, been doing it for years. And I asked him, how the hell did the Patriots win 6 straight games? They're a good team. They're a talented team. They're not the best team in the AFC, but they're right there for the best record in the AFC. I said, what the hell is Belichick? How did they get to a point where they can win 6 straight games? Which, oh, by the way, the Eagles need to win 6 straight games now because if they want to make the playoffs, that's what it's going to take. And he said, Joe, Belichick gets a ton of credit. Of course, he should. He's arguably the greatest coach of all time. But in the locker room, they had a bunch of guys who are former Super Bowl champions, mostly on the defense side of the ball, who have been able to sell the underdog aspect of this season. When they went backwards last year and didn't make the playoffs, for the first time in 2 decades, the Patriots could say, yeah, we're underdogs. Nobody's picking us. Nobody's respecting us. Nobody's showing us. If that's working in New England, are there guys in the Eagle locker room that can sell that this week? Can Lane Johnson, can Jason Kelce, Ken Fletcher Cox, guys who have been there, done that, part of the Super Bowl team. Yeah, they've written us off now. We got a little hot. We got our asses kicked by the New York Giants. Everybody's against us. Break out those stupid dog masks again. Can they actually make that work for them this week going forward, starting with the Jets?
Well, I think you have the guys in there. I think they could. I think you even have the head coach. I mean, when you look at Nick
Sirianni wasn't even here. He doesn't even count. He can't be Sirianni. Sirianni's got to stick to doing Sirianni things. He can't revert back to previous Eagle administrations. He wasn't part of it.
I mean, back when it was 2018, when he was the offensive coordinator with the Colts. I mean, they would start out 1-5. The next thing you know, they roll off 9 out of 10. Right. So I say you can
crossover. You're crossing over organizations. I see where you're going, Franklin.
So
good thinking out of you.
I do it once in a while. Maybe few and far between, but once in a while something comes up there. But I think you've seen that. And Rodney McLeod, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelce, on all those levels, I think you have those guys tell them, hey, it's not over, it's not over. I even think from a standpoint of Hurts and Devonta Smith and even Dickerson with their Alabama, I mean, when it comes to the winning side, I mean, they're not used to losing and everything like this much losing, but they know what it takes to win in critical moments. So I think there's got to be a meld right there. I think the veterans, this is a week where you see a lot of them trying to meld a lot of these young guys to try to take over the mantle, being leaders and step up and everything. I think this is one of those weeks where I think not only just week, but after the bye, you're going to see those veterans try to come on like, listen, guys, take it one game at a time. But you know, some of them are looking at the whole rest of the schedule and going, "Yeah, we could take this and just do this."
Yeah, I'm one of them, Chris. Yeah. I'm one of them.
I still think they go at 7, but like I thought they were going to 7, but it looks like I might have to bump it to 8 maybe. But I still think there's that Cowboys. A lot of stuff defends from that last game against the Cowboys and the Washington football team. I mean, they're still a team
I think Washington is the key to it all. Yep. Because I think those 2 games, if one of those teams can sweep the other, I think that team's going to be in a good position to be the last team in the NFC. The Eagles aren't winning the NFC East. Forget about the Cowboys. But, right now, the last seed is Minnesota. They lost to San Francisco. Those are the final 2 seeds. They don't have a defensive line. Every single one of their defensive linemen is out. The Eagles are a half game behind. They already have the tiebreaker over the Carolinas, Atlantas of the world. They're still in a position. Did they learn something from this game? This is a game to me where they came in, felt a little bit haughty about themselves. The Giants stink. The Giants are in disarray. Did they learn something from it? The young players on this team, and say, you got to bring your A game in the NFL. If not, somebody's going to jump up and bite you.
I think so, especially division game. I think a lot of young guys got a rude awakening when it came to NFC East football. because no matter how bad the teams are, and we've seen some really bad NFC East teams over the recent memory, no matter how bad they are, these games seem to be close and seem to be really physical, really close. Refs let them play for the most part. You see all those aspects, and I think they got a good taste of that yesterday. And if anything, now if I can't believe I'm saying this, I usually hated this saying back when I was for it. It was good they got this loss out of the way early on. Because I think they say, hey, you know what? This is what happened. You saw what happened now. You can't let this happen again. I think they beat the Giants again when they play them here at Lincoln Financial Field. And I think they come in with a different attitude when they go and face Washington, both away and home. I think they come in and attitude say, hey, you know what? The Giants were in a similar situation. Taylor Heineke, depends on what Taylor Heineke you get. To me, I look at Taylor Heineke, I look at Daniel Jones, one and the same. So you got the same style quarterback. I just look at overall, I think they use this loss and use as a callous. I think they win four out of like 6 at least.
Okay.
They'll make it interesting.
Then that keeps them in the mix, gets us to the last game of the season having some meaning, which is something we should be looking for. All right. Certainly health is going to have something to do with it. 2 running backs are right now questionable for next week with Miles Sanders leaving the game and Jordan Howard probably going to come back, but don't know that for sure. Is it even more ground and pound next week if both of those guys are healthy? Does Sirianni have to temper his potential play calling depending on the health of his backs? What's Eagle offense going to look like next week against the Jets?
I think it's going to depend on if they have Miles Sanders. I think if Sanders out and Howard is still out and his knee's not right, I think you'll see them try to use. I think it's going to be heavy Boston Scott because it seems like Kenny Gainwell has just disappeared from this offense. I wish I knew what was going on.
He was big late as the pass catcher.
Yeah, they love him.
The Giants were giving him.
Yeah, they love the dink and dunk. They love using him on third down in the hurry up offense. But after that, when it comes to their base personnel, the 12 and everything else, it's like there. I think you see a lot. If you don't have Sanders and you don't have Howard, I think you see a lot of wide receiver screens to Quez Watkins, Devonta Smith. Use that as almost like the extended zone plays. Yeah, they're probably going to get 2 or 3, but they'll try to trade that because I worry about the long term. I worry about them continually running the ball with only those 2 running backs. I mean, I don't know who else you can find out. They probably have to find somebody out there and put them on the practice squad if it's something long term with Sanders or Howard. But I don't even know who's out there that you feel comfortable with.
Jason Huntley. You can't forget Jason Huntley.
You know what? See, the problem is I forgot about him, and he had a great training camp, and he was a forgotten man. But even then, I don't even know if I can rely on him. Like so he flashed in practice. That one too, but he has a lot of skill, but I don't even know that one. So I think you'll see a lot of wide receiver screens, a lot of tight end screens. I wouldn't be surprised to see that too using Goddard. But I think for the Eagles' sake, when it comes to at least making the game comfortable next week, they'll need Sanders back in order to continue the run game. If not, that and RPOs, I think you made a receiver relate back to that stuff again, and that's going to be we shouldn't have
complicating that, Chris. I think a lot of people think about injuries. They think about, okay, who's going to play in this game? Who's not going to play in this game? You know, Jack Driscoll, how healthy is Jack Driscoll, blah, blah, blah. Jalen Hurts got banged up in that game.
Yep.
Hurt his ankle on the sack. Clearly was limping. What he's going to be able to play, we know that. He's got to tape up the ankle. What if the mobility is not there and that 8 rushes for 77 yards is off the table? He's got to become more of a stable presence. The mobility is affected. Can this team even run the way they're set up right now? Can they run an offense without his mobility?
I think so. I think you won't see as many. I don't think you'll see as many shotgun looks because if he's really limited, he saw the zone read. And this is another thing I wonder if teams are going to start doing now because they're like the Giants. Because technically, when he's doing the zone read action, he becomes a runner, and the Giants were taking some hits at him. And to me, it looked like, and you don't want to see this happen with a quarterback. To me, it looked like once he was, it was like his ankle was affecting him. And once he was in the pocket, and he had to throw, he knew he couldn't, like he wasn't able to roll around. That's when I thought he threw his best. I don't know if it's something where he thinks where he's constantly thinking, I got to run or I have to make this move here or there. And then, oh, wait, I have to throw the last second and then try to throw something that affects accuracy. I don't know if he plays everything off of that, but that's what it just seems like. And I think if he really is, that really does hurt him more. I think you put him more under center. You look more traditional offense, hand the ball off to Scott, running the traditional between the tackles. He's when it comes to at least when it comes to run game, and just hope that is enough to bite him. But I think there's other ways you can make up that 77 yards. I think it just have to be through the air, and him in the pocket, he's gotten better. Not yesterday. I mean, yesterday, because to me, like yesterday when he was rolling out, that's when he got his worst issues. But I think him in the pocket overall, he's gotten better. And I think who knows, maybe that's going to be a better thing for him, especially if you look at that last drive. Who knows?
Yeah. All right, Chris. After yesterday's performance, sorry to say, the conversation is reopened as to Jalen Hurts in the future. We were trending toward, hey, this is our guy. It looks like he's going to not only be here this year, but next year, and don't know about a decade, but at least for 2022, we know it's going to be Jalen Hurts. You throw 3 picks and don't throw for 200 yards, and you make the mistakes that you made, everybody's going to question you again. I think he is the perfect guy to deal with that. I think he's got the perfect temperament. I don't think he lets these issues get inside his head at all. It's not a question of what's between the ears with Jalen Hurts. It's just the overall talent level and his ability to throw the football. But does it affect anybody else on the team? Is there anybody of his teammates that go, oh, now we got to deal with the Jalen question again? Is Jalen good enough? Is Jalen going to be our future guys? Is there anyone else who said that it could get in? I don't think it's going to get in the quarterback's head, but it could have an ill effect on anybody else on this roster.
I don't think so. I think if he has another game like he had against the Jets, another one, I think you start to see some of the receivers murmur a little bit, like, hey, you're affecting my stats. What's going on here? But I don't even think that's going to even happen. I think he has a stranglehold, at least as when it comes to leadership wise. I think a lot of people have bought into him, and I truly don't think that's going to be that. The only people you have to worry, I think, if I'm Hurts, you worry about is the front office. That's the only people thinking you're worried about. But even then, I think he tunes them out personally, even begin with, hearing all this stuff and all these leaks and rumors popping up. So I think he'll be fine. I think his teammates are going to be fine with him. They're going to chalk it up. You hear everybody we saw with Reagor and Scott, and I think everybody else is going to take fit. No, I'm Spartacus. It was all my fault. It's my fault, and they'll just use that. But unless he has another game like this, especially against the Jets, where he throws 3 interceptions and has a QB rating like 16, 17, 18 around that area, then that's when I think everybody goes, then you may hear a murmur. I think even then, a murmur from primary receiver. Other than that, I think everybody's fine on there.
All right, last one from me, Chris, and read Chris Franklin's work at NJ.com with her buddy Mike Kay. They do a great job covering the Eagles. They were obviously in North Jersey yesterday to see the disaster that it became. But in honor of what I'm going to call Jody Mack week as the biggest Jets fan, the most famous Jets fan I know. I don't know Larry David, so I'm going Jody Mack. In honor of Jets week, I want to get some optimism. Who played well yesterday for the Eagles? Who do you look at and say, you know what? Mostly defense, I would assume.
Derek Barnett.
Yes, and that's where I was going.
You know,
I wanted to
I was going to go there. Even me, the biggest Derek Barnett hater in the world, has to acknowledge he did a pretty good job playing
that's
the
where
run
I was
yesterday.
going. Way to go.
He did very. I mean, between
he was good.
Between that, he first off, when it came to the mental errors, he didn't commit any of those. When it came to penalties, nothing that hurt the team. Nothing. I don't think he had one. Nothing that hurt the team on that one. And he stopped. They didn't let anything get outside of him, and he created consistent pass rush. I thought overall that this has been one. I know they have the fat heads inside the indoor practice facility for the players of the week. I thought. Yeah. Well, I think when we were talking, we were talking about it. For one week,
Denver.
The Denver week. Yeah. If they won the game, he played well enough to earn another fat head up there. He's in my opinion, he was the Eagles defensive player of this week. And it's a shame because
did they give one out every week, win, lose, or draw, or only on the win?
Just wins.
Okay.
Yeah. And I thought they would have had a lot. We probably would have saw a bunch of other offensive linemen when they came to the offense because they ran for over 200 yards.
Yeah.
But Derek Barnett would firmly be planted. And And I've been rough on him too. I've been pointing saying, hey, you know what? He needs to sit down. He's costing you wins. He's costing you yards. He's putting you in bad positions. And that's the infuriating part, because you can see when he's really going, he looks like he deserves an extension because of all the stuff he can do. You know, we heard about the bend and what he can do. He broke Reggie White's record in the pass rush, but we haven't seen it consistently. When he's on and he's healthy, we get efforts like that what we saw on Sunday. So knock on wood, like hopefully he doesn't get hurt again too. But if he plays at this level, he gives you reasons to be optimistic about this defensive line. It just adds another dynamic to it.
Well, I like to will acknowledge that Brandon Graham played. Dark Boy and I played well yesterday. Tough for me to do, but he did. He played a stout game against the run yesterday. Anybody talk to Brandon Graham? Is he coming back this year, next year, ever again?
Yeah,
we're going to put the Eagle uniform on again.
Brandon joked, saw him obviously rehabbing. You know, this was one. You were probably there, Chris, when I don't know if you saw Brandon come out, but he joked when the Eagles were struggling and bought me one more year.
He was right near the car. Near the car. I think it was near the car. Yeah. I think, it was that. I think you won't see him this year. I think he'll be ready for next season. I think he'll be next season by training camp, stuff like that. I think that's going to be the case. I'm more concerned about Brandon Brooks because
something weird's going on there. Yeah, I can't explain that.
And by the way, Brandon Graham's going to be back next year.
Yeah.
What he may have dodged a bullet was, and I remember doing a show with our boy Barrett Brooks on WIP years ago, a holiday show, right? Like right before Christmas from a bar somewhere in Center City. And I asked him about the Eagles left tackle, Jason Peters. And I said, will the Eagles ask him to take a pay cut this year? Well, he goes, are you kidding me? If they ask him, he's going to go, yeah, I'll take a pay cut. Thank you very much. There's no way the Eagles are going to ask him to take a pay. And guess what? Barrett was right. They didn't ask him to take a pay cut. And he came back again. And he came back again. Same thing with Brandon Graham. They can call him into the office and go, Brandon, we got some cap flexibility. We can do something. We can build this thing. We're going to need to restructure your contract.
You know
I saw the pass rush on this team last year. You want me to take a pay cut? Yeah, he's going to be here either way. He wasn't going to get cut, but he doesn't have to sweat the whole, let's talk about restructuring your deal thing. He's going to get every penny he was scheduled to get.
You know what's funny you mentioned that, because now I can picture that, because we know Brandon Graham likes to call you by Fat Boy. I see right now in the Howie's office go, listen, Fat Boy, I'm not giving up a cent right now. You know how he loves to call you by Fat Boy. Listen, Fat Boy, I'm not giving up a cent right now. So he's one of, there's certain guys in your franchise you need around, certain icons. I mean, we saw Strahan's number retired yesterday. Yeah. There's certain guys you just don't do that, so you have to treat like a better words, but you do have to treat them with respect. And I think you can't.
By the way, that was a little weird. That play at the end of the half, Chris. It was the Eagles went 92 yards. They needed to go the 93rd. I thought it was Michael Strahan's number was 92. A little ghostly apparition creates there.
Come on, you're in conspiracy theories out there. What was that? Was that Jonathan Frakes series? It was like all the weird stuff was going on for it. 92.
Yeah.
We'll never
Michael Strahan. The ghost of Michael Strahan, but he was there, wasn't it?
It seemed to me like Jalen Hurts was trying to throw that pass into the gap between Strahan's teeth. Bad idea. Not a good idea, Jalen. Chris Franklin always brings insight and info when he comes on. Brought yucks today, too. We thank you much for that, Mr. Franklin. We will have you on again soon enough. If you like Chris Franklin's mock turtleneck, hit the like button right now. I know you don't like me and McMullen because we're telling you the truth today. But Franklin was funny, and he's got a great mock turtleneck on. So hit the like button here on Birds 365. Chris, we'll talk to you in a couple weeks, bud.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it. Have a good one.